What is up, everybody? It is Thursday night. Thursday night means one thing. We're back. We're finally back. Brand new episode of Jackson Kayak Doc Talk. So hang on, fasten your seatbelt. Let's go. Welcome back, one and all. We know you've been waiting on us for a long, long time. We are happy to be back. Let me turn this phone off the ringer. Nobody wants to hear that thing going off all night. So we got a new panel, new topic. It's been a long time. I have missed you guys. Been out with some dental issues, had a little bit of a bone spur in my mouth. Couldn't really talk very well. Was getting through it, but stoked to be back. Stoked to see all the folks in the comments again. Ready to do this thing. But new panel, new night, new topics. So we're going to start in the Great White North when let's introduce our first panel member. Adam, what's up, man?
What's going on, Chad? How are you tonight?
I am good, man. Happy to be back. Your on air sign isn't lit up behind you, man. I feel like we're slacking off.
Yeah, it should be, but I do not have it connected at the moment. I was having a slight issue with it, but no, excited to be back. Doc Talk. This is exciting. Glad to hear all your dental issues, whatnot, has worked out, and we got you back in the host seat. And this is really exciting. Doc Talk is Thursday night. It's where it's at, you know.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's good to be back. So just kind of quick intro for those that haven't met you before on prior episodes. Where do you hail from, and what kind of boat are you fishing out of this year?
Yeah, so like Chad said, I'm Adam Pross. I'm from Cornwall, Ontario. I'm just on the other side of Messina, New York. And I paddle a Jackson Lizka, and I also pedal a Jackson Bite FD. So yeah, that's
I do love
my
I do
fun.
love the Bite FD. The Bite FD holds a special place in my heart.
It definitely holds a special place for me because that is my first pedal drive, as I've only paddled for since I've begun kayak fishing. So yeah, for me, it's definitely a special one, and it's even funner when you can get out there and you can just cruise around a little go kart. You know what I mean? It's
Oh
but it
yeah, man,
handles
it's a
well on
fun
big
boat.
water. So yeah, no, I like it.
Cool deal, man. Well, let's move on. Let's get another family member up in here. We're
Yeah,
gonna
bring them on.
we're gonna swing all the way from the Great White North of Canada down into Texas. Miss Vicky White, how the heck are you?
Man, I'm awesome. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back. So as always, people may have not met you that are joining this for the first time. So, where do you hail from, and what kind of boat are you paddling, pedaling, motoring this year?
Hey guys. I'm in North Texas, and this year I'm in a NAR FD, and man, that thing's awesome. Absolutely gnarly. Love it.
Bob Gnarly.
It's a sweet
That's
boat.
it. That's the kayak, Bob Gnarly. I have to
There you
name him.
go.
Sweet. I like that.
Let's see. Now, I don't know where this individual's at. He's a Hoosier by birth, right? Then he's a Tennessean volunteer. I don't know how do you do it? Is it a Tennessean or a volunteer? Do you guys know?
You're asking the wrong guy, but I thought it was a
Yeah, I don't
volunteer.
know.
Yeah.
I,
See,
yeah, I
that's
don't know. I don't know. Anyway, from somewhere out on the road, Mr. Jason.
What's up? It's
What's up, man?
volunteers, baby. We're a
Yes, the
volunteer now.
volunteer
Yes.
state. It's the
Good
all
old
right.
volunteer
Rocky
I got it
state.
Top.
right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so right now, Chad, we're at the local Goat, a beautiful establishment here in Ottawa, Tennessee, on the shores of Lake Chickamauga. Um, it's an awesome restaurant. Nicole and I are here having our weekly dinner night on Thursday night. She's allowed me to take a few minutes to chit chat kayaking, and yeah, it's a beautiful place. We're in just outside of Chattanooga. It's awesome. Definitely loving my Jackson big rig, loving my Jackson bite, but 2024 for my fourth trip so far, the Blue Sky Boatworks 360 angler. Ooh, son. I mean,
Yeah.
Nicole calls it the bass boat. She said, no, that's a boat. I'm telling you what, that thing is legit. Anybody that hasn't been in it, if you're in the general vicinity of Lake Chickamauga, free blue sky rides all day over here. Let's go. It's awesome.
There you go. You got everybody. All right. Firing at me faster than I can think. So, guys, tonight's episode tonight, we're talking about, we see it everywhere. Everybody's talking about motors and spot lock and all this fun stuff. But tonight, we're going to do a little bit different. Like, we're going to talk about the human powered angling element of kayaking because there's still a lot of people out there that are still paddlers. They're like Adam, they're moving from the paddle to the pedal drive. There's
Yeah.
a lot of fun elements that go into this sport, and it's really neat to hear the different sides. So tonight we're going to talk about the human powered side, and maybe what it has, how you guys do things, and what it has to offer a lot of different folks out there. So I kind of want to go around the room and we'll talk about your guys' means of propulsion. And we'll start with Adam and kind of get into what you're using. And you can talk about your previous boat, your boat now, and kind of how you've adapted.
Yeah. So for me, I when I got into kayak fishing, it was a paddle. Like that's what I did. I got out there and yeah, I paddled and I cast and I paddle and I cast, and it wasn't until actually, so that would be 2014. So it wasn't until last summer that I actually acquired the Bite FD, and the Bite FD was a pedal drive, and it was like, for me, it was definitely a game changer. But at the same time, it was a whole new world that I was getting used to because I'm so used to going out there and paddling that I having to actually put my paddle and strap it to the side and use a pedal drive for me was like, it took a lot of getting used to. Like it really changed the way that even way I rigged the boat. I had the Jackson Lizka for quite a few years, and that was my river boat. Like I paddled that. Oh, I've taken that everywhere, all over Ontario, all over Quebec, and New York State. And yeah, no, it was one of those things. And for me, like I said, it was different trying something else. But now I have two boats that, one has a purpose and the other one has a purpose. So being somebody who still loves to paddle, for me, it's definitely it's where I feel most natural, I would say, out on the water. It's at home for me.
Chad, you're on mute.
Out of practice. Out of practice. But I was talking to you anyway, Vicky. So let's talk about your path. Kind of talk about your start and how you got going, and kind of a little bit where you're at now, and that change for you.
A lot like Adam, I started out with a paddle, and then last year I got the Kusa FD, and this year the NAR FD, and it is so much easier to pedal and fish at the same time. And with the NAR, the steering, there's no stopping me. I'm like casting, pedaling, and I could stay in a spot even if it's windy. So it's awesome. And yeah, when I do have to paddle, I'm like, what is this? I'm spoiled for sure.
Oh yeah, it'll spoil you quick. How about you, Mr. Jason Cassidy?
Yeah, well, I've had a fleet of kayaks over the past several years. My first Jackson was the bite angler, and like Adam said, when you're a paddler, and you're paddling your kayak, you just kind of get used to having that paddle on your lap all the time, right? Kind of just sitting there and making that cast and keeping the balance so you don't throw your paddle off the side of the boat. And the rigging is completely different. And when you step up to that pedal game, all of a sudden, when you're pedaling, you're like, well, I can't pump my knees too far because I'll flip my paddle off. Oh wait, the paddle's not there. Um, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but that go kart mentality comes in where you're just moving all over the lake. The cool thing about Jackson's fleet of kayaks is you can steer left or right. So no matter which way you like to cast, you always have a free hand to steer the boat left or right. So going from that bite to the big rig, that just kind of opened up the stability, gave me a little more storage inside the hull with the big rig. And now with the blue sky, like Vicky was talking about having, that steering. Well, the blue sky, I'm elevated about 6 to 8 inches higher than y'all, and the steering, the way it is on the seat, just right next to you. I mean, it's same left, right, either hand, and I can swivel that seat 360 degrees, as is the name 360 angler, and fish a bank with a boat, going north and south, and I'm facing east and west, facing the bank, and still being able to steer left and right without reaching way off to the side of the boat. It's still right next to me. Um, it's unbelievable. It's the amount of control you have with the drift. If you're drifting a river like I did on Gunnersville this past weekend, you it's unparalleled in any other way. It'd be tough to duplicate in a motor, for sure. So it's pretty much the bee's knees.
I'm gonna practice, Vicky. So a lot of the people, let's talk about the paddling aspect here for a little bit. A lot of people get their first kayak, and one of the things that you always hear is like, "Oh, the wind! Oh, the wind!" Let's talk about some of the things as a paddler that you do to help control the things like the wind when you're out on the water, the drift, the wind, the current. I mean, what are some of the things as a paddler that you really need to be aware of? And give us some tips and tricks on how you guys, make those adjustments. Anybody can go.
I'll go ahead and lead it off, Chad. Um, for me, as my time spent as a paddle kayak angler, looking at the weather, I mean, that's definitely going to be to your advantage. Know what you're facing and know what you've got. You're not going to go fly a plane in a Cadillac. It just doesn't work. So you got to know what you're in and what conditions you're faced with, and then look at where you're wanting to fish. As kayak anglers, we're already limited to a certain area of the lake. So, plan ahead, look at the wind direction. Wind-blown banks can be your best friend. Wind is always not the enemy. In a lot of cases, and you hear it on the Elite Series or the MLF, where the wind kicked up, the bite turned on. Well, that happens oddly enough in a kayak too. It's just a little tougher to fish. So if you do have a kayak that's fixed with a rudder, you definitely have the advantage to where you might be able to kick the rudder to the left and just let the wind guide you along a bank, and flip laydowns, flip docks, whatever it is that's coming your way, and learn to use the wind as a tool to your advantage and not a nuisance. That was one of the first things I learned. It's like, this wind sucks. Well, if you learn to work with what God's given you, 9 times out of 10, you'll reap the benefits of it. You know what I mean? So just learn to get out there and work with the wind. Let the wind be your friend, because working with the wind, drifting is just like having a trolling motor on slow and working a bank line sometimes. A couple back paddle strokes with your paddle will definitely help keep you lined up with whatever target you're facing. So that was the first thing I learned to work with was embrace the wind as your friend. Don't curse it, because on tournament day, somebody's got to win. And if it's not going to be you, who's it going to be? So work with it.
It's great,
Yeah,
man.
I
That is
like I gotta say that's a huge part. Like as a paddler, like preparation is huge. Like you need to really understand the body of water that you're fishing. Okay. Understand the weather that you're going to be faced with that day. Look at the wind. Look at the wind by hour. Understand it, because see where it's coming from, where you're going to be. Now, as you're beginning to look at potential spots that you want to hit along the way, look at which way the wind is going to be going. Look at which way your weather patterns are going. That part there, I think, is key, because it will actually allow you, now that you've done the homework, give you the better and the most, I would say, the most probable ability to go out there and actually catch fish without struggling too much in the wind. When you're using the wind to your advantage, whether you're drifting with it, it's, that's a tough one when you got to begin to make your way back, and when you add current into the mix, it gets a little harder. But yeah, no, I've always like, I've learned, over the years, how important it is when you begin to, like, just, it's silly to say, but like, let's say you want to go for a couple hours, after work, or this is your, you got the morning to go fish. Well, to utilize your time, it takes 2 seconds to check a weather app, to check in with your local weather, and just understand river gauges and stuff like that too. That really, I think, will help you also be more proficient on the water when you're battling wind. Because yeah, the wind is it can be your friend, but at the same time, it's gonna leave you when you're paddling. It can fatigue you pretty quickly too, right? So that can always put you in a tough situation. So yeah.
no, that's great. I always kind of look at paddling. I look at paddling more these days, I think, from an adventure standpoint. Um, I've got my NAR, which is my lake boat, and I take it out, on fishing tournaments and big water and the different things like that. But when I look at my paddling, my Kusa X, it's like I want to keep that a paddle rig for going to the river, because to me, like paddling, I come up and I'll paddle upriver, especially where I live, because the river's 5 minutes from my house. It's got a great boat ramp, as Jason well knows. Um, it's slick. It gets a little slick. But we'll paddle upriver into a creek, and then we're paddling up that creek quite a ways. But man, it's just so much fun to get out and drag and pull up, different little shallow areas, riffles, pull up over logs and different things. And for me, that's one of the reasons I keep a paddling kayak around and keep my paddle close. And two, with the pedal drive, you never know when that paddle could get you out of a jam. You never know when you're going to shear a prop pin, you're going to bust the prop. You know, who only knows what could happen out there? Bend something, break something. But man, it's kind of nice to keep up on those paddling skills, wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah, I would just want to touch on one thing you brought up. It's always keep the paddle with you, whether pedal
Mhm.
drive or not. Because I even myself, last fall, I ran into an issue where I had gone out on a lake with a bunch of friends, and I had my paddle, and I had an issue with my pedal drive, and um, I was on the other side of the lake, and my paddling skills for sure helped out. But had I not been in that situation where I don't really have strong paddling skills, that wind was atrocious, like the whole way back, and you're fatigued, you're tired, and that's when you begin to run into those issues. And yeah, no, having that paddle there with you is I think it's so important. Like it's just like that PFD, like, if you pedal drive, like just like anything, things can happen, right? And having a backup, a paddle is definitely the thing I don't leave home without. Like, it's even with my bite FD, I learned pretty quick that, you rely a lot on that pedal drive, and then next thing you know, that pedal drive doesn't work anymore, and now you're at the other end, because nothing really breaks at a convenient time, right? Like, things generally go at the worst times. So yeah, no, that's such a good point to bring up, Chad.
I'm gonna comment on Chris Funk's wind always comes from where you are going 10,000% of the time. Yes. And it always switches directions when you head back the opposite way, especially if you're paddling. It never fails. It'll be blowing out of the west, and then the second you turn to the north, it's coming out of the north, and the second you turn south, it's coming out of the south. It never fails when you're paddling, it seems like. Um, but like, how often do you guys keep up with your paddling, even though like we're predominantly pedal drive users here? How often do you just say, I'm gonna go paddle, sharpen my skills, make sure I got some stamina in that direction, or do you guys do that?
I like you said, Adam, I always have my paddle with me, and I usually end up using it every time I'm out, just because there may be a ton of grass, in the lakes around here. I may be in inches of water and tons of grass, where that paddle is just easier to, hey, let me just get through this patch, and then you're back onto the main lake. But yeah, definitely I paddle at least some every trip. It's definitely important to do that.
Yeah, like Chad was saying, the adventure part of it, I really enjoy getting into really skinny water and taking the paddle and getting places where you can't. Vicky, like yours last weekend on Gunnersville, I mean, it's full of grass. You know, the flex drive is amazing. It does amazing things. One thing it is not is a weed eater, right? So you're not plowing through these big, 200-300 yard flats of grass. So you have to have some sort of paddle and some sort of skill to know how to, at least paddle the craft through the grass. But yeah, literally every time out, micro adjustments, whether you want to go a little left or a little right, you can turn your rudder. And even if you've got, with the flex drive, it takes inertia to turn that vessel left or right. Well, with a paddle, it's just bleep, bleep, and you're there. So having that pedal drive is great, but having that paddle at the ready can definitely get your boat in the right position to make the right cast. To maybe win you a tournament or catch that, that dream bass you've always been looking for. So every single time out, you know the saying, you're up a creek without a paddle. I won't go out without my paddle. I won't go out without my PFD, no matter what I'm in. Period. Dot.
Yeah, I think getting the Bite FD last year was like such a unique experience, because I've been such a paddler, and now I'm going to take this Bite FD and I'm going to take that flex drive and I'm going to put it through the paces. Like, I took it to all sorts of different lakes, rivers. I put it, in, where I was, for instance, like flipping or punching, or take it down river where I'm, chucking crankbaits after smallies. Like, for me, it was always fun to go out with the pedal drive, but I never left home without my paddle. And I was able to take that, because every boat kind of, it paddles differently. You know what I mean? Like, I know how my Liska paddles because I've just paddled it for so long, but learning how my Bite FD paddled was, for me, also same way, and how I rigged it too, because I felt that was kind of a necessary thing. Like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to paddle my Bite FD bare. Like, I'm not putting this, that, and everything on it yet. I'm going to just go out and see how this boat handles. And I put it through all sorts of different, situations just to see. And yeah, I really found that, you know, getting out there with the flex drive, which is a really cool experience, being out on the water, because even though you're not, you have the paddle, now you're pedaling, you know, and it takes you to pedal it, you know, like there's a lot of great motor companies out there, but you know, it's, you know, you are the sole source, you know, you're the engine behind this boat. And I think that part was, you know, really fun too, because you were just kind of, you know, you're zipping all over the lake, the river, and you know, it's I really enjoy it. Like I can't think of a better way. But when it comes to paddling, yeah, for sure. Like I stick to my skinny water, you know, my small rivers and stuff like that, my creeks, and um my pedal drive for sure, you know, my bigger water and lakes. But yeah, I don't know, sometimes at the same time I'm like, well, maybe today I actually just feel like getting out on the water and I feel like paddling for a bit, you know. On the weekend, and my kids and I got out, and my son was like, Dad, which one are you taking today? And I said, which one do you want to take? He's like, the Bite FD. Cool, you go on the Bite FD, I'll take the Lizka. And like, dude, let's go. And of course my daughter, she's got her own little kayak, and yeah, two of us paddled, three of us paddled, sometimes pedaled, you know what I mean? Like it was just, you know, whatever we felt like. And I think sometimes too, I'm just like, well, I actually feel like paddling. And I remember doing a charity event last year in September, and I drove 6 hours to get there, and I seen loads of different guys out there with amazing kayaks with motors and pedal drives and whatnot. And yeah, I brought my Liska because I just felt like paddling this lake. Like it was just, I don't know, I'm just one of those, you know, I just kind of go with how I'm feeling it, I guess, that day. So yeah.
I hear you, man. I feel the same way a lot of times. Um, and let's kind of let these other two down here talk. Like when you guys switched over from paddling to using a pedal drive, I mean, what was that experience like for you guys?
Go ahead, Vicky.
I loved it, you know, because yeah, you can zip around, you can fish and pedal at the same time. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you do still use your paddle quite a bit. You know, those really shallow areas, those grassy areas, and I was surprised that the Kusa and the Nar both paddle really easily. Um, so it to me like doing either one is super easy. Um, yeah, it was really it's really fun. I love being out there no matter what. Um, paddle, pretty cool. Jason?
Yeah, the transition from, you know, the Bite Angler to like the Bite FD, obviously working with, you know, shoulder muscles, arm muscles to those quads and hammies that we have, you're working with a much larger muscle group. So you're expending less energy. Your hands are free to cast, which is fantastic because that's what you're out there to do anyway, is at the end of the day is fish. So the number of casts I could make by using my feet and legs to move the boat, I mean, literally probably tripled. And then one of the big things that I didn't really take into account is when you're in a paddle craft like the Bite Angler or the Liska or the Kusa X, and you set the hook, you know, you lay the wood to a biggin. What happens? She's taking you into her home. You know what I mean? Uninvited, you're going into her home. But when you have pedal drive, when you're in a flex drive, you can it's like it's just natural. When you're cranking, your feet just naturally go backwards, and you pull yourself out of the cover. And the big advantage that the big boat world has over the kayakers is that leverage and maintaining the you know that pressure on that fish, so we can backpedal while we're hooked up, keep the fish out of the cover, pull them away, maintain that pressure on the fish, and get them in the boat. Where if you're in a paddle kayak, you're getting sucked in. You're like freaking out. You're getting pulled into the trees, the brush, whatever it may be, and you run a chance of losing that fish. So by going to the pedals, you gain an instant advantage by getting some of that force back in on your side. So that was probably one of the biggest advantages outside of coverage. Being able to be like, well, I can go 2-3 miles from the boat ramp comfortably. Um, but I know I can, when I lay the wood to that fish and that lay down, I can put her in reverse and crank and bring it out at the same time. And 9 times out of 10, get that fish in the boat, where I might struggle a bit with it getting pulled into the cover with the paddle.
Yeah, I think that's great. Um, so as you've moved from paddling full time to more pedal drive fishing, um, how has that changed your usage of time? And as a paddler, like when you started to view a river or a lake, how did you manage that time? And how has switching to a pedal drive changed that for you?
For me, I did like you said. I would paddle up, and then allow myself to kind of float back down. Now, I mean, I'm probably do the same thing, but like Adam said, I do my homework. I check the weather. I check everything. So if it's going to be windier in the afternoon, I can plan out. Okay, well, I know it's going to be windy, so I'll hit this cove this afternoon, but I'm going to pedal out to this point over here this morning. And I know that I can get there a lot quicker and with a lot less energy. So I just go straight there, so it's kind of a neat, I know I can get there quicker and fish around.
Has it changed your thinking when it comes to a tournament as far as like how you're going to start your day?
Yeah, because I can get just a little bit further, a little bit faster. Yeah, so when I study the lake before I go, I give myself a little more space uh, that I can cover for sure.
Absolutely. That's great. How about you, Mr. Cassidy?
Yeah, with the pedals, I definitely look at the area that I can cover versus a paddle, and it gives you that opportunity to, in most tournaments, you usually have about 30 minutes between launch time and lines in time. So as you're planning out, like you want to be on your juice. That whatever your best morning bite is, you want to be on that spot when it's time for lines in. And with the pedals, I mean that could literally be 2 miles away, and it is an easy thing to achieve within that 30-minute time frame. I can go 2 miles without a problem, work my butt off upriver, downriver, wherever it may be. Um, Mother Nature has less of a play when you have a pedal drive than it does when you have to paddle. So it really changed where I would start in a tournament big time. Most tournaments with my paddle, especially if it's a river or current driven lake like Chickamauga or Gunnersville or anything like that, um, I would do a float trip, but now with the pedal or pedals, I'm sorry, most of everything I do is a single access because it really does open you up to just about any stretch of 2 to 4 miles you want to fish. You can easily access that. Where with the paddle, it probably cut that in half. I'd be 1 to 2 miles, and I wouldn't want to go much outside of that from my launch point, unless I was doing a float.
You, Adam.
Yeah, I would definitely like when you look at paddling, like for sure, like there is a lot more homework involved to where you want to be. But with the pedal drive, yeah, no, I almost feel like I'm in a little mini bass boat because I'll for instance I'll be up at the cottage and I'll head out in the morning. Now I would say in the past, like, yeah, I'd kind of have an area that I'd stick to, and I would hang from getting into the stronger current areas. But now with the Bite FD, like I tell you, I'm just like zoop, I'm gone. Like I know where I'm going, and I I get out there, and yeah, like I said, I still have my paddle with me, but at the same time, it's just a quicker experience. So like I know where I want to go. Yeah, it really is just to get out there, and I don't really have to think too much about where I'm going to be, because I already have like that's where I want to be, not really where I'm like, okay, I got to think like, at this time, we'll stick here. If this doesn't work, I'm going to go here. Well, now I'm literally like, if this doesn't work, well, I'm just going to go back up there. I'll jump down to here. Oh, the current took me back down. I'll just go back up, and then I'll drift down again. Like, it's a lot easier than, paddling all the way back up the current, for that quick, 2 second spot, because, as it takes you down much faster, it's very much harder to paddle it back up. That gets exhausting, but with the pedal drive, that's just zip back up and retry it. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Like it really is. And for me, that's where it's I already have that laid out, that location. So
True that. You
Now,
get to take what you want, not what's given to you. So
yeah,
good point.
that's such a great point that you bring up, Jason. Like the paddling for sure. You got to kind of that's what you had for today. With the pedal drive, and I'm sure Vicky can probably relate even more with this. Is going from paddling to pedal drive is for sure. You got so many more options to play with. And you can, and I almost think technique wise too, while you're out there fishing, it does really open a lot more to how your ability is to fish while you're in these I would say more driven areas of fishing, where before you're kind of like, okay, well, this is what I have for the day. So yeah.
well, even there though, being a pedal drive or a paddle, we're still the four of us in this chat here, or this podcast, whatever you want to call it. We're all for human powered angling right now. With that being said, I feel like, and I'll let you guys echo in, it makes me think about my area more. I don't only become more efficient with maybe my time and my craft, but my fishing becomes more efficient, because if I make a big decision to go far, I'm more apt to stick with that decision because I have to make it work. I'm limited on my time. So, do you guys feel that same way, that if as a human powered angler, you're giving places more time, you're, maybe not as adjusting as fast as you would, and picking up a couple more fish because you worked an area over a little bit more thorough?
Oh, for sure. Especially if I make a big change, I'm much more likely to switch up technique. Like, okay, this is obviously not working. I'm going to go to this Ned rig, or, whatever it might be, for 15 minutes before I absolutely change again. Because yes, it does take that time to get there. And on tournament day, you may not have much more than that, to change spots.
But you, Jason Bobby.
I don't know. I'm kind of on the point to where, me being my motor, I don't look at not having a motor as a disadvantage at all. Yeah, maybe there's a few vessels out there, not all of them, that can beat me to a spot. A buddy of ours, he's in the NAR, and I've witnessed him. Now he's a skinny feller.
Preface this: he weighs 100 pounds wet.
He's a skinny feller, but I mean, he gets that thing up, and I'll put him up against anybody out there. I know Guillermo's in a new canoe with a 3 horsepower equivalent motor, and he might be able to outlast our Jackson Nar guy, but I mean, there's literally nowhere we can't go that a motor can go. We don't have the breakdown issues, so I don't put any restrictions on it whatsoever. I see a tournament, I see an area I want to cover, and if I want to do it, I'll do it. If I can't get to it, I'll load it up on the trailer and I'll head to another boat ramp and punt and start over. I don't see any huge disadvantage or restriction by being human powered. If anything, it's an advantage because I don't have a bunch of noises and beep 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 beep. I don't have all that. You know, we've got the stealth mode that has made kayaking so successful over the years. And if it fails, we've got bigger problems. You know what I mean? So if this motor stops working, it's we've got big issues on our hands. So I've heard so many stories about motors breaking down, failures. I mean, we work with great electronics companies out there, and they make great things, but things happen. You know what I mean? And if it's down to my body failing, so be it. If my flex drive, the Mark IV fails, which it hasn't yet, I've got a paddle. You know, I've got my Warner sitting right there ready to go, and I'm good to go. You know, I'm still fishing, or they're sitting there cussing out whatever wire shorted at. No limitations.
Red Bulls is all the gas you need, right, bro? How about you, Adam? Do you feel like it changes the way that you fish and maybe the time that you'll give a place?
You know, like kind of like what Jason said, like I don't really want to rely on batteries. I don't want to rely like it almost enters this question, I feel like almost enters the same rabbit hole as we get into like electronics. You know what I mean? Like, do electronics make you a better angler? You know, and I feel like, you know, from on my personal side of it is that, you know, we spend a lot of time, you know, looking at, you know, tackle and, you know, if we had to have, you know, the motor for that, if it would make us so much better. The motor doesn't catch you fish, for one. At the end of the day, it doesn't. You know, you're the angler, you catch the fish. Whether you're in the spot at the time does, you know, as a paddler, peddler, or any other means of propulsion, at the end of the day, you know, I think you should do what makes you happy out there. You know, whether that's one of the above. But for me, no, like I don't really think it changes it. But I also don't really want to rely on anything else other than myself out there while I'm on the water, because at the end of the day, like I'm the one who's out there to go and fish. And yeah, no, I don't really think like it really changes it for me personally. Like I think you can
So
still.
you don't feel like you maybe spend more time at a place because you know that it's like going to take you maybe a little bit more time to move versus, you know, maybe making a quick decision like, okay, I stopped by here, I give it 30 minutes, I'm going to jet and move to this next place. You don't, I guess that's really more of my question is, do you spend more time on this, you know, area that you've picked out to go to first versus, you know, maybe making quick decisions and jetting around more?
Oh, definitely. I like for sure jetting around more with the pedal drive, hands down. Like for sure. Other than being a paddler, where you know I might work a different style of fishing, but yeah, I would definitely. I just think, you know, being out there, you know, you'll hit the spots that you want to. You know what I mean? And at the, having that ability to maybe move a little quicker, for sure, it would definitely help out. But for me, I think it kind of just stays the same.
Yeah, I agree. Being in a kayak makes you milk an area and treat it a little bit different than you would a boat. As much as a lot of these anglers really want it to be, we're not in bass boats. You know, we don't have a 250 Yamaha or a Mercury on the back. We're not jumping from point to point to point, you know, running a milk run. We're not doing that.
No.
Whether your boat goes 6.2 miles an hour or 4.3 miles an hour, you're not covering dam to dam. Okay, you're in a kayak. You're gonna milk an area. Just being in the piece of Tupperware by itself is gonna make you appreciate what the area you have, slow down, and fish that area more thorough. I think the transition from paddle to pedal is a pretty big transition as far as how long you give an area, how long you soak your worm, if you will. Going from pedal to power, I I think is more of a move of convenience than it is a move of strictly saving time. Because most of these guys that are moving from point A to point B with the motor are just sitting there with their, the signature leg cross, playing on their phone. We've all seen the pictures of people like, oh, just another day out on the water. Okay, you're going 1.5 miles an hour faster than I am. I'm burning a couple calories. I'm drinking a Gatorade. I'm not playing on my phone. I'm thinking about my next game plan at the next hole I'm getting to. You might beat me there by 5 minutes, but my game is still on. And you got to put your phone down, let your eyes readjust from sitting there looking at Facebook, and I'm sitting there ripping the lips in a 5-pounder. So, I don't see pedal to power being a big difference as far as how much time I give an area. Paddle to pedal, I think, you appreciate that space a little bit more when you just have a paddle in your hands. But when you got a Mark IV on your feet, the world's your oyster. You go out there and you just get it. Go shucking.
Yeah, it's so true. Like you can, like I've been in bass boats, done that run, and I'll be honest with you, like yeah, you can go from point A to point B in no time. Like it's impressive, but it's impressive how much time you leave that spot, in my opinion, and you're like, should I have left that spot? Like is that, oh man? But I've now just ran to the other side of the lake, or I've gone to the other, I've ripped down the river, and I think as kayak anglers, you know, we just take a little more time, with whether, yeah, for sure, paddle, pedal, and you can really work a body, spot, whether it's, for instance, a dock, lay down, a ripple, um, you have that ability to really even just become more proficient as an angler on the water, because you don't really have that ability to just run it, because let's face it, you don't have the massive mercury on the back, yeah.
No,
So
whether you're leg powered or battery powered, you still don't have the run to make it. I mean, bottom line is, you can cover more area with a battery, but at the same time, yeah, you can't run the entire lake with your legs, your arms, or your battery.
Yeah,
yeah,
And
and
it's
I
a
think, but I
really
think
big battery.
you have that ability though to really get better at a technique,
Mhm.
because you may have that time, that just, like that extra 3 minutes in that spot, where somebody else might have just like, what, for instance, like, just flipping, it's okay, nothing here and gone, but you've taken that extra time to just kind of work that spot a little differently, whether your bolt position's a little bit different, or just making a simple change in your presentation. Sometimes that I think as kayak anglers, you see some impressive fish caught in spots where I think a lot of bass boat guys would be like just tearing up crying, because they're like, how do they get in there, like, and I've faced it many times on the river, where guys are like, how are you getting it, like how does he get in? And you can see where they've tried to get in, and then
Oh yeah.
they can't get any further, because they're going to be pushing their boat at this time. So
yeah.
yeah,
Or
no.
just like, Vicky, you might be fishing like Ray Roberts or Fork or Toledo Bend this weekend, like, or Lake Erie, Chickamauga, Lake Monroe, even in Bloomington there, Chad. Places that are heavily traveled by boats. I have no issues whatsoever following behind a bass boat in any one of those tournaments, any of them, because I appreciate the area. And just like society, they're looking for the quick hit, the next best thing. And what's in it for me right now? A bass boat might pull up to a dock on Toledo Bend, flip their little jig in there once or twice, not get bit. And they're like, well, there's obviously nothing here. Boop, boop. They jet up and they're motoring off. And we'll go in there and we'll really milk that dock, hit each post from each angle, each side. We might pull 2 or 3 fish off of it. You know what I mean? So we appreciate the area we have where when you have a motor, especially a big motor like a 250, you're just thinking like, if it ain't right now, it ain't happening. But in a kayak, sometimes it's there. You just got to make it happen. And I think that's one of the things that I hate to say it, Bass Boat World, will help make us a better angler. Just saying. I said it.
Well, I think one of the things that we're really concluding to at the end of it, it doesn't matter um, if you have a motor on your kayak, if you paddle your kayak, if you pedal your kayak. Really, if you have a motor, you can really bring all three aspects of that together throughout a day. It doesn't mean one's right, one's wrong. You can literally use all of it together. Your paddle is always going to be there. If you've got a pedal drive, you can, save some battery life on your motor by just, jutting up 50 feet. You can, if you're a drive guy, you can flip up your pedal drive like in our NARS and Bites and Koosas and Blue Skies. You can flip that dagger board right back up inside, and all of a sudden you've got your paddle and you've got four-wheel drive to cruise across those big grass flats like Vicky was talking about, which I do quite often. So, it really, all the tools in a perfect world come together, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's neat to showcase all those skills together. But it's also neat to hear from people that are still doing it the human powered way, because a lot of our consumers are new to the sport, and they're very interested in paddling tips and tricks and pedaling, and how do I do this, how do I do that. And as we teach these things and talk about these things, it's always educational. And I think that's one thing that I really take away from the conversation tonight is there's no right way, there's no wrong way. It's all together, and it all makes you a better angler. When it comes together, it really makes a beautiful thing. So being all human powered anglers, I mean, an hour goes so fast because like we kept rambling on, but being human powered anglers and kind of looking at your fishing and kind of where you're going, do you see yourselves eventually making the move to having a battery and maybe a Torpedo, maybe a Motor Guide XI3, or some sort of different propulsion on your kayak? And go.
I can go first. As a tournament angler, I've often asked that question, and like, yes, and Chad, you really hit the nail on the head. Um, why not have it all? The beauty of the Jackson platforms across the board, no matter which one you're at, but especially like the Bite, the Coosa FD, the Big Rig, the NAR, and the Blue Sky, all those crafts that have the pedal drive aspect to them, that have that Mark IV, which is amazing. Obviously, all can be paddled. They can be pedaled. And I'm now with the Blue Sky, I'm definitely looking at putting, a 3 horsepower, electric motor on the back of it just to get from point A to point B, give myself, they're a little bit faster, but maintain, I'm 45 years old. I'm not getting any younger. So use that energy more wisely while out on the water.
Well, you don't want to wear out those brand new dad shoes that you got, those New Balance.
Yeah, my grandpa's shoes and New Balances. Now that's for cutting grass. I don't know who sent it, but they said, "Man, that just screams, a freshly cut yard and in a good credit score. I didn't know what that meant, but it was pretty good. I was like, dang. But why not? What I don't want people to do is to think that you have to have all these things, like Adam, kind of preluded to with the electronics things that everybody's talking about in bass fishing. Is it's a very elitist sport, right? Whether you're in a kayak or you're in a bass boat, it's getting more expensive all the time. If you go out to any ramp on Chickamauga, you go out there right now, there's a Thursday nighter at 3 different ramps. If you look at the rigs here in about 5 minutes when they come in for weigh-in, outside of the wraps, you would not be able to tell a difference between a Bassmaster Elite Series boat and the guy next door's boat. They've got 3 graphs up front. They've got 2 graphs on the console. They've got 6 different transducers shooting out everywhere. I mean, these things are $150,000 rigs everywhere. And I don't want people to think that to get into a kayak, you got to have a motor, a flex drive, a paddle. You got to have a trailer. You got to have 2 or 3 graphs. You have to have the list is endless. You don't need all that stuff. The beauty of our sport,
somebody
you
wins
don't
a
need
big tournament paddling every year.
every year. We've had several this year. You don't need it.
True.
You
Very
do not
true.
need it. Does it help in certain situations? It can benefit you, yes. It can be more convenient, yes. But like Adam said, that motor didn't catch the fish. There's no hooks on it. There's no hooks on your live scope.
No, there could be.
No, not yet. But what wins the tournament, what wins the day is you, and that's what's most important. Don't buy into the hype. It's a very social media heavy world. We all want to be that cool guy out there. I had somebody who was like, "Oh my gosh, your truck's wrapped, but you don't have a motor." I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't have a motor sponsor, so no, I don't." They're like, "Well, why'd you wrap your truck if you don't have a motor?" I'm like, I didn't know I needed to. I'm sorry." They're like, "Well, I thought you travel the country and fish kayak tournaments. How come you don't have a motor?"
Yeah.
I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't want the inconvenience of it. At the time, that's what I wanted. And that's how I've been doing it for 5 years, or 6 years, and that's it. So don't buy into the hype. Do you get out on the water? Kayak is still the best way to get off the bank. It's the most affordable, most approachable way to get out there and catch a bass any way you want to do it. So, yeah. Hashtag do what you want to do.
We're getting ready to drop
leave all
Planet
in.
Fitness on us. Are you getting ready to drop Planet Fitness on us right now?
Planet Fitness was 2023. So in 2024, we're gonna go to bleep, 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 bleep. No, we're working on a couple of things, but no. But yeah, you want to talk about Planet Fitness or any other gym? I think
Offshore
it's
supplements.
offshore supplements. Yeah, you want to take care of that motor, right? Z Pro Lithium makes a hell of a battery. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. But you know what's better? Your brain, your heart, your lungs, your soul. That's what's most important. And if you don't treat that right, nothing's going to be right. So take care of yourself. Eat right, sleep right, do yourself good, get in a good church, take care of your family, have some good friends around you, and you'll be all right. Best motor ever.
About you, Adam, Vicky, any plans on making a change, grabbing a motor for yourself, maybe mixing it up a little bit different?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I've thought, I've thought about it. Am I there yet? I don't know. I still enjoy paddling. Maybe as I get older, maybe there might come a time where, yeah, maybe that's something that I'll need to do because maybe I won't be as strong as a paddler, or I won't be, I won't have that same spinning class on the water that I do. So maybe, anything could happen really. But, the one thing I did want to touch on, it's really awesome to see like all these boats. They're rigged out. It's really cool. Motors and whatnot. But here's one part that I always think about is you can put all that gear on that boat, but the day you flip that boat, tell me this, are you able to actually get back in it? And if it should capsize, would you be able to pull that boat over? Because the more weight you add to these kayaks, the tougher they get to pull over. Now, or flip over, sorry. So, I always think, like, I always suggest when people get new boats is, go out there and just paddle it bare, just kind of like get a feel for it. So, yeah, that was just one part, because I think at the end of the day, you should do what makes you happy. So if it's, motor, paddle, however it does. But I think I love to paddle. I think it's a great physical activity. You can get out on the water. You can paddle if you got a pedal drive. It's awesome pedaling. Like if you enjoy spin bikes, biking, all that, get out on the water. It's so much fun. I always joke about the St. Lawrence spin class that I do for smallies, and it's good for the soul. It's good for your mental health to get out there, and it's really good physically to just go out and do that, and at the same time, you can take care of yourself out there, because you're the motor, your limits, and so. But maybe one day I'll maybe, I don't know, Newport. I did get a chance to see and try a Torpedo, which was really cool. Both my kids thought it was cool too. So But right now I just like paddling and pedaling, so I'll stick with that until I decide to change.
I like it. How about you, Vicky?
I have considered it, but right now I don't think I want anything extra. I, take my kayak a lot of times on the back of the truck. And I just feel like having more stuff would be inconvenient right now. I may change my mind next year. I might change it next week, but as of right now, I just feel like it would be inconvenient to have more stuff to put on. I like my pedal drive. I like my fishing gear. And other than that, I feel like I'm set to go.
Yeah, I like it. I can resonate with the more stuff. I feel like I bring enough stuff as it is sometimes. I'm always start with like this very scaled down version. And then as summer goes on, it just keeps multiplying, multiplying, and multiplying. And then it like, okay, I need to get rid of some of this stuff. And I shuck some of it, and it's like then it keeps multiplying and multiplying. Plastic adds up quick, and that stuff weighs a ton. It's just nuts. But so you guys crushed it. I feel like this was a great conversation. If you guys have any additional questions, drop them in the comments, even in the afterthoughts. We'll try to get you guys answered as we can. But yeah, it was a great topic, and really appreciate you guys coming on tonight. So as we sign off, we'll go in reverse order. We'll start with Jason. Thank the people that you need to thank, and tell people where to connect with you on the social platforms.
I appreciate the opportunity, Chad. Of course, Jackson Kayak, what's under my butt every time I'm out on the water. I love that company, that platform they put us on. Orion Coolers, Offshore Supplements. If you want to record anything that you're out there doing, YOLO Tech, great company to look at. Black Dog Brewing Company, Chad, I know you love that garage deer, but Black Dog Brewing Company is still out there providing the best beer in the industry. If you want to be a little bit lazy and work towards getting a motor, drink more Black Dog beer. It'll get you there real quick. I promise to that. USA Bass and Kayak Trail, check them out. I know Vicky, you're a TD down there in Texas. She's got a great thing going at the Lissa Lakes.
Going this week.
I mean,
big one this weekend.
I think what was that little piece of mud hole pond? I've never even heard of it. What is it called? Toledo something.
Bend.
I don't know. It might be the first ever fishing tournament they've had on that lake, but you should go check it out. No one's ever heard of it. None of her lakes are popular at all. No, on all seriousness, I mean, it's like the Elite Series of Texas. It's awesome. But yeah, USA Bass, and you should definitely go check those folks out. Bassco, making some incredible gear. Um, yeah, look, Chad, look at him. Just look at it. The Jackson teamwear, Chris over at Basco, he makes some great stuff. So if you're into Jackson swag, he's got you covered over there. Or any other, if you just want to look good in the streets, he's definitely the guy to look up to, and he will get you taken care of. And then Afloat, Family Life Outdoors Achieves Togetherness, is my nonprofit. We actually have our an event up in Indianapolis June the 8th, and then we'll be doing one down in Tennessee later on in the year. So you can check out afloatinc.org or Jason Cassidy, how it's spelled on the screen there, and just type in fishing, and you can find me on any of the socials, even Tic Tacs. But yeah, that's all I got for now. Thanks for the opportunity, guys.
Okay.
Again, thanks a lot for having us on. I love Doc Talk. It's a lot of fun. Definitely thank Jackson, man. They number one for me. Kistler rods, kayak instruction and Rowlett. They're awesome. Definitely come and check out the USA Bass and Texas Trail. It's going to be on point this year. It's going to be awesome. I am the Adventures of General Hooligan on pretty much all social media. And yeah, again, thanks a lot.
Adam.
Yeah, no, thank you once again, Chad, for having me on the Doc Talk Thursday night. I think it's the best place to be. But yeah, no, if you want to follow me, you can follow me at River Run Fishing. Yeah, I'm on Facebook to Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Obviously, my number one, my one and only, as I say, Jackson Kayak. You guys rock. I'm very thankful for everything that you do. Also, big shout out to all the boys at Kayak Bass Canada, Hard Knocks Kayak Fishing, the Kayak Fishing Life charity event. It's coming up this July, the fourth one. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's for the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. So don't forget to go and help us out there. And just thanks for coming on out, and it was really fun sitting down with Vicky and Jason. This was a lot of fun. So thank you once again, and I look forward to it. And Chad, that hoodie, dude, that thing is mint. That jersey is on point, dude. On point, and like I think you should potentially do modeling for them. Like I think you're headed that way, dude.
Well,
like
I am an official Basco model.
I knew it.
Yeah, I'm an official Basco model. If you head over to basco.com, bascofishing.com, you can find me. You can find a lot of great fishing apparel over there at Basco Fishing. He's got 10% off right now for the holiday. So if you guys need any swag, you unfortunately won't be able to get this particular shirt. Maybe a rendition of it sometime in the future for fans and JK users. But these are the new JK team shirts designed by the folks at Basco. So highly recommend, head over there, check them out, 10% off. It's great stuff. I wear it a lot. Most of the shirts that you see are Basco. And I really like it. Jason's wore it for quite a while now too. And Chris is a really good guy. He's got a really good thing going on down there. Also we got to thank Z Pro Lithium. Jason mentioned Z Pro Lithium. Me and Jason know a lot of the same people. Funny how that works. But Z Pro Lithium keeps us powered. for this podcast, keeps us powered in our kayaks, and then also powering our Jackson Kayak Trail USA Bassin Series. So we're stoked on the folks at Z Pro Lithium. Check them out at zprolithium.com. Evolve Fishing, evolvefishing.com. Those guys are giving you guys 15% off if you want some of the best rod sleeves in the game. They float. They've got, tie down so you don't lose your nice rod sleeves. They've got molded tips. They've got molded rings around the bottom so your hooks don't get caught in anything. They're all stitched to the 9, and they just look good and crispy. And they've got a few new products that they're getting ready to drop here very, very soon. Yeah, they're great. So JKT15 will get you guys 15% off at Evolve Fishing. Obviously, Orion coolers. If you guys are looking for some Orion coolers, Orion Rocks at checkout will save you some percent on a brand new flashy Orion cooler or some accessories. So check those out, or check us out. Yeah, check us out, Orion, Jackson Kayak. Yeah, cruise some boats, cruise the coolers, see what all we have to offer. Obviously I can't leave without thanking the people at Cast King. They've kept me casting now for the last 2 years. Really great products. Check them out, castking.com. You will not be disappointed. Mega Jaws Elite MG12 magnesium reel. You're going to pick them up. You're going to be blown away. They're efficient. They're lightweight. And I absolutely love them. So check those guys out, castking.com. Most importantly, my peoples. It's great having you guys on. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your time. And can't wait to do it again on the next one.
Thanks, Chad. And yeah, like you said, those Cast Kings, I'm not sponsored by Cast King, but I've purchased about 4 or 5 new reels in the past 6 months. They're, they're pretty legit. For the price point, they're amazing. But overall, they're legit. So definitely want to try those guys out for sure.
Since we're back and since it's been so long. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Good night. Goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.